We had 48,000 tons of gold, and now we have
Yeah. What
seven,
happened to it?
7.1. I mean, it's the whole thing is it's just it's ridiculous. But if you think about it on a bigger level, we have 3 quadrillion in derivatives. That is the biggest monetary bubble in human history, and it doesn't take much to pop that. JP Morgan Chase has 61 trillion of those. You pop JP Morgan and it spreads out through everybody because the banks are interconnected, and they'll all be trying to sell the same assets. Everything just is like all of a sudden will stop.
What if your resolution this year is to finally get better sleep and to have the energy that you need to make it through the day? You would have more clarity, you'd be able to handle stress better. Pretty much all your goals would be easier if you just got better sleep. That's why many people are using CBD from CBD Distillery. Because over 90% of the people who've used CBD from CBD Distillery say they sleep better. And those kind of results are really tough to beat. And CBD Distillery has products other than just CBD for sleep. They also deal with stress relief, mood, and pain after workouts. You just need to go and shop and see what you need and match it to what they have. I personally like this calm and clarity. I take this like nightly. I'll take it when I'm just feeling a little bit stressed or I just want to calm down and unwind at the end of the night because I get so wound up and then like, okay, I just need to calm down, watch some TV and then go to bed. So I like this one the best and they actually taste really good. But most importantly, this is clean, it's premium quality, it's been third-party tested, and it's free of artificial fillers and dyes. And it has 100% money-back guarantee. So if you are ready this year for more calm and clarity and stress relief, just like me, go to cbdistillery.com and use my code Sarah to receive 25% off. That's cbdistillery.com and use my code Sarah to save 25%. And you must know that specific product availability depends on the regulations of the state. Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall. I have Bix Weir coming to the program. I've been wanting to have him on my Friday night economic review for a while. Actually, I've been wanting to interview him for a while. In general, we have a lot of similar friends or mutual friends in the industry or just around. And he's super smart. I think you're going to like this conversation. It's different than a lot of the conversations I have on my Friday night review, but you will get insights that you won't get as easily elsewhere. So I think you'll appreciate this one. And he thinks that silver is going to go on par with gold. And he's going to lay out a reason for that. Now, I'm not so sure if I agree with him, only because I believe there's a ceiling because of the industrial metal market. But then he gives the reason why he thinks that ceiling will go through as well. So just listen to this. All it does is say, you should be investing in silver right now as silver is a great investment, I think. I'm not an investment advisor, but that's what I'm doing personally. I think it's an undervalued asset. But even so, with the way everything is going and the way the world is going, I would recommend diversifying yourself out of the stock market into other assets, land and gold and silver. And silver is breaking. When it breaks free, it's going to break free. And I use Miles Franklin. He uses Miles Franklin as well. If you are interested in buying gold and silver, they are a company that we can trust. They've been helping hundreds of people get out from under scams, and their prices are legit. I mean, you're going to get a very competitive price. They actually advertise it'll be the best prices in the country. Regardless, you can trust them. Go to sarahwestall.com/Miles Franklin, and you can get a copy of their private price list. And you're going to want that because whenever you're buying something, make sure you understand what you're buying and you want to get something that's of the best value you can get. So again, sarahwestall.com/Miles Franklin. Okay, let's get into my conversation. It's just not a traditional interview. It's a conversation. So here is Bix Weir. Hi, Bix. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a long time. A fan of yours watching your show. It's exciting to be interviewed by you.
Excellent. I've been wanting you on for a while. I know we have a lot of mutual friends. Okay, what the heck is going on with silver? I know you are a lot of people I know watch you all the time to talk about silver and cryptos and gold. You kind of cross over to both, right? Cryptos and precious metals.
Yeah, yeah. I was one of the first guys on YouTube, at least, to say, well, Cliff sat me down when I said, "Oh, cryptos are terrible," back in 2013. He said, "Hey, Bix, you got to think about this differently. It's digital scarcity. It's a real thing. Blah blah blah." So back in 2013, I was like, "Well, cryptos are real, and you got to sort through the bullshit to get to what's real good about them." But yeah. And silver, I've been following for 25 years, trying to expose the manipulation of it, and finally, we're getting some traction.
Well, okay, I got to ask you, were you smarter than most people, including myself, and got into Bitcoin early?
Well, it depends what you call early. I think I got in at about $100 a Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
I bought a whole bunch, and it went to $1,100, and then they took out Mount Gox. I'm like, oh, it's over, and I sold it all at $200. Of course, the idiotic move. I got back in, at a higher price, but
I
yeah,
know.
it's tough to ride those waves of
I know.
manipulation. And
And plus, it's hard. I mean, if it goes up to 1,000, it's like, wow, I got to
oh yeah,
sell. It's like you had no idea it was going to go to 100,000. But some of those people that bought at $1 and they bought a bunch are the ones that are really doing well. But oh well, I could have bought Apple stock when it was low too. I mean,
hey,
that's the
you
story.
can you can buy silver at $90 today. In a couple
That's
years ago,
right.
oh my God, remember those people who bought silver at only $90?
I actually got some at $10 back in the day, back in 2010. I think it all the way got down to 10.
I was $4 back in early 2000s.
Wow. Well, that's even better. But I didn't start buying silver until the 2008 crash. And I
Uh,
said, okay. And I bought silver and gold, but I realized that silver was more undervalued than gold. I just knew, right? I don't know. And I started, but I'm not the best investor sometimes. I don't buy, I didn't buy Bitcoin at $1.
right.
So, I bought some, but I didn't, if I would have known what it's doing now, I would have put in a lot. I didn't. But it's still, like we're saying, I think it's super undervalued. And let's talk about it right now. I mean, it went up to 103. I think it's still climbing over in Shanghai.
Yeah.
What are we
Well,
going to see?
well, when it comes to price, we have to put it in perspective. The price we see every day is not the price of the fair market value of silver.
That's right.
Silver is priced on derivative exchanges, it mainly in the U.S. on the COMEX, where a handful of controllers control that price, and they have for since the invention of COMEX trading, computer trading, back in the early 1970s. So that control has been going on for 50 years. It goes way back to the Opium Wars, but we could just start with the true control began with the introduction of computer trading and derivatives in the early 70s. Alan Greenspan was the one who invented the computer banking system. He blamed himself for Y2K. It was classic.
He
But
was
yeah,
one of the orchestrators, one of the
oh yeah,
architects.
he was a very very astute financial computer programmer in the 1960s.
Oh, I didn't know he was a computer
Yeah,
programmer
yeah.
back then. Wow. So he knew the system's architecture and how to direct people.
Oh yeah, and
Mm.
he was working with the government. At the beginning, he just did it for his own good. He made millions of dollars back in the '60s using his computers. But then he, started working with the government. His mentor was a guy named Arthur Burns, who was the head of the Fed back in the '70s. And Arthur Burns brought him in and said, "Hey, we're going to go off the gold standard. We have to control the system. We have to control the price of everything. How can we do that?" They invented the derivative market, futures and options, where they trade 300 to 500 times the underlying asset. If you can control the derivative market, you can control the underlying asset. If you can control the price of the underlying asset, you can control an unbacked fiat monetary system. And that's what we've been living in for 50 years. And now it's starting to break apart. I think one of the most interesting things is the latest move by the Trump administration to sue the Fed.
That is
Um,
interesting. Let's talk about that because I think it's one of the biggest developments we've seen in finance, probably in decades. To actually sue the Fed by the federal government is something that it might be as big of a deal as it getting formed in the first place, those kinds of things. Somebody's actually going after the Fed. Why is he going after the Fed, and what is the lawsuit about?
Well, the lawsuit is about kind of, I think it was on the restructure or renewing the Fed building. But that's just the, hey, we're going to open a case against the Fed to make them open their books. And once the books are open, that's when you can go after them. Ron Paul has been trying to do this since day one.
Well, they did
And
a
I've
partial audit, right? After 2008, and we saw it was jaw-dropping what we saw.
even a partial audit is nothing compared. They would have
I,
never released something that would
I
have
know.
destroyed the Fed. And I'm not saying the Fed's all bad. It's not. As a matter of fact, the Road to Ruta is my website. That comes from a Federal Reserve comic book series that they put out on having to go back to a gold standard and the importance of gold in any monetary system. And this is the Fed putting that out. So I am not. I think there are a lot of good people at the Fed, but there's also a few very bad people and a few people who are just trying to cover up what they've done in the past.
Well, isn't it
So
just that there's very, very powerful worldwide actors who are heavily involved with the Fed, who are more, they value their power and their family's continued future of power than the average person being able to thrive.
yeah, yeah, and that goes throughout government. I mean,
That's right.
the Congress has the ability to end the Fed tomorrow if they wanted. I mean, it was kind of set up on a hokey way in 2013. I don't think it was ever ratified, and all this stuff went wrong. It was
1913,
only
yeah.
supposed to, yeah, it was supposed to be done in like 20 years or 2000 or 1929. I think it was supposed to be completely over, and then they stretched it out, and now it's on perpetual renewal of the Federal Reserve Act. They can end it tomorrow if they wanted to.
Well, and it was
Um,
it was created, it's a private corporation that got its investment backing through tax dollars. And they didn't put a dime into it. They just
well,
control it and
yeah,
benefit from it.
that was the introduction of the Fed was they put a 1 penny tax so that they could fund the Fed. 1 penny income tax. There'd never been an income tax in the United States, so they introduced in the Fed. They put a 1 penny income tax, which people are thinking, it's just a penny, not a big deal. They're going to help control the government. And now, what's our income tax? It's ridiculously off the charts. Everything has blown up. All these wars that happened, in the past, wars were very short and very expensive. Before the invention of the Fed. With the invention of the Fed, you have World War One and World War Two and all these other wars, non-wars, and all they have to do is print money out of thin air to attack anybody they want. The United States, as much as I love my country, I was born on the 4th of July. I'm the most patriotic person I know, but it's time to fight to get our country back because our country was taken quite a while ago, at least 1913, but you can go back before that. I think we're at a point where we're going to take back our country, which means destroying the unbacked fiat system, which will be chaotic, completely chaotic, but it can't go on like this. We're the largest debtor nation in the world, believe it or not. And so who would win if we do destroy the fiat money system? It would be the largest debtor, right? Because we have the most debt. The debt will just be gone. And the chaos that will be
Ensue will be
caused
big.
by that. And it can happen easily. It's the derivative bubble is I think $3 quadrillion now. That always it was always set up to be so big that if it did pop, it would destroy everything.
Well, okay, let's talk about if we don't have the people who are owed money will suffer serious real damages. If there's debt that's there, who do we owe the debt to?
Nobody really. Now people have bought the debt, so the banks, a lot of pension funds, things like that. Whoever has that debt, but what is the debt? What is a Federal Reserve note? It's an IOU.
But you know what I mean.
Our money is debt.
If you wiped out everybody's pension funds, that's a serious issue that you can't. So there has to be a way to deal with real assets that, people need those assets. Otherwise, now we're talking about a society level collapse event.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that's the only way to get where we need to get, because we're in so deep now. I mean, they had talked about blowing up the system back in the 20s and early 30s and saying we can't have this fiat money out there. So the can was kicked and the can was kicked. And Warren Buffett's father, Howard Buffett, gave speeches in front of Congress in the 40s. You got Ron Paul saying, "No, we can't do this. We can't do this." Alan Greenspan said, "We can't do this." And then Ronald Reagan set up the Gold Commission when inflation was getting out of control in the late 70s, early 80s. Gold Commission came back and said, "Well, yeah, this isn't sustainable unless we get our budgets in order. Then we can work on fixing it." And what has happened since 1980 in the budgets? We've printed infinity money, and now we have Elon saying he found 14 computers within government institutions that were printing money out of thin air. I mean, are we at infinity money now? Is it really that bad, such that there is no other way out other than to destroy all the fiat money out there? And I think that's the plan. It was always the plan.
Well, there are gold stashes and stores around the world. Some people say it's the Philippines, which I have some evidence that I really believe that there are huge stores over there. And then,
Massive.
yeah, based on everything that I've seen, evidence that's not widely circulated, it's just not. And then there's gold stores, like, I think in the Grand Canyon, all over. I've had other people tell me, Sarah, it's all over. And then they've also said, don't talk about it much because it's pretty dangerous.
It is. It is. I scream about it all the time. And I've done a lot of research into, especially the Grand Canyon gold, that I kind of raised my hand and said, "Hey, I found this article from New York Times in 1909 saying there's billions of ounces of gold on the banks of the Colorado River, placer gold up and down the Grand Canyon." And they actually went out and started mining it all. And then Woodrow Wilson put a kibosh on it and turned the Grand Canyon into a national park, which stopped you can't even take a pebble out of the Grand Canyon. I've been to the area. I saw the mountain that they used hydraulic mining. So they stripped the whole side of the mountain, got the gold, and then they locked it up. The United States, the theory that there's 220,000 tons of gold that have ever been mined, 2 Olympic swimming pools, is ridiculous.
People believe
if you
that,
read
though.
Sterling,
These people believe this crap.
everybody believes it.
Because they're told it.
Everybody believes it.
Over and over and over again, you believe it.
Sterling and Peggy Seagrave wrote this book called Gold Warriors about Yamashita's gold, which is the gold in the Philippines, in 80 different caves. Japan had pillaged the whole Asian world of all the gold they could find in China, up and down every country. Japan just stole all their gold, literally tortured and stole gold. And then they had it all. They knew they were going to lose the war in the mid 40s, and then they put all the gold into the Philippines and hid it in booby trap caves. And crazy story, but there's so much evidence.
I think there's even more before than that period. But keep going.
Oh, absolutely. This was just something that was about 500 to 800,000 tons of gold, which is double or triple the size of what they tell you. They still tell you there's 220,000 tons of gold. No. Yeah. And then the Grand Canyon stuff, I've been doing a lot of research into that, and I've had debates on it, and I've proven time and time again, yes, there's massive amounts of gold all up and down the Colorado River. I do believe there is a mother lode within the United States, which is 1 million tons. And right now, the United States only has 8,000 tons, 8,100 tons, which is ridiculous.
Okay, so that could wipe out the debt worldwide, actually, the amount of gold. If we did it right and masterminded it right, and this is what I've been hearing from really high level bankers that told me there is a way to wipe out the debt, to make people whole and to move on and to this, but no one is willing to talk about it publicly. No one is willing to do this. And that's what I've been told. And also you can't talk about it publicly, otherwise it's not safe. I said, okay, well, I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, it brings up so much. To me, we could wipe out the debt with legally with the U.S. Mint creating a coin that says it's $37 trillion. Pay it. and I mean, there's a legal way. There's ways you just wiped out the debt.
There's ways.
The problem isn't necessarily the debt. The problem is money is debt. Money is literally, our money today is not an asset, it's debt. It's a Federal Reserve note, an IOU created out of nothing. And it's the faith and confidence in the United States, which has completely been destroyed over the last 20 years. But the reality of it wouldn't get rid of the debt we really need to get rid of, which is the entities that own all that debt, the deep state, the Epstein crowd, and the crypto cabal, as I call them, which is in with the
That's
Epstein
right.
crowd. It wouldn't fix that problem. They have most of it. Biden had 14 computers printing infinity money for anybody who wanted it that he wanted to give it to. How much did he give Hunter? 50 billion? Nobody knows.
That's right.
Nobody knows.
Nobody
And
knows. And that's why this level of fraud that they're, I think Doge was one of the best things that ever happened to this country, being
but
honest.
when he quit, Elon quit Doge the moment they found those 14 computers. He's like, why are we looking for fraud and waste when we had
I
14
know.
computers creating money out of thin air and giving it to anybody who wants it?
It becomes almost a, I think about that too. It's like we're going after this fraud that's like 8 billion or 9 billion plus. And so now people are saying maybe there was 900 billion sent through the Minnesota airport. I mean, that kind of stuff. I don't know all that. I gotta, we're still digging into what's true and not, but it really starts to feel like, well, if they're just printing money out of thin air, they can print that, run it through the Minnesota airport and get it to everybody.
Absolutely. California is 10 times worse than Minnesota.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's size wise is bigger, so it feels like it's worse. But Minnesota is, I know a lot about Minnesota, so
That's
I
true.
don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I don't know if that's a true statement, but I can say that California is pretty bad too.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem is when this does fall apart. We know that the system is going to fall apart at some point. You could say the debt is unsustainable. Well, you could pay it off, but what does that mean? Right? It shows you that that actual debt was not really worth anything because you can make a coin at the US Mint for $39 trillion and pay off the national debt. And then Catherine Austin Fitts found another 100 trillion in bonds that are fake. Where do you hit that point where it's like, what do we even believe is real?
I agree. That's exactly, those are the kind of things that I saw. I saw these documents. I saw satellite imagery of caves, and I was told that Sarah, that is so above top secret that you are not allowed to see that and you shouldn't share it. I'm like, well, okay, I have to share it to a certain extent, but that's the level of fraud that we're talking about worldwide, and the fact that the people are kept in this. I don't even, what do you call us if we're kept in this nonsense cage?
Um, I don't know. People talk about this being a simulation. Life is a simulation. Well, it really does feel like a simulation when we had believed these bankers, and that's the other thing. When this all falls apart, whoever had a plan, it really not going to matter. No one's going to have any authority to say, this is the new monetary system. You're going to believe this. We're going to. I hear the plans like NESRA and GESRA, the National Economic Stability Act, and the quantum financial system. Every single one of those things, and I've heard hundreds of them in the last 25 years that I've been doing this. Every single one takes a decider. It takes someone with the authority that everybody's going to believe that this is the right thing to do. And I'll guarantee you there will be not one person, especially in the United States, who is going to trust anybody, especially Scott Bassett or Jerome Powell, about what the new monetary system of the United States will be. We do have an advantage over everybody else, which is a constitution. We have constitutional money of gold and silver, and we have a hell of a lot more gold than we're telling people that we have. We don't have 7,100. In 1940s, in the late 40s, we had 48,000 tons of gold, and now we have
Yeah. What
seven
happened to
seven
it?
point one. I mean, it's the whole thing is it's just it's ridiculous. But if you think about it on a bigger level, we have 3 quadrillion in derivatives. That is the biggest monetary bubble in human history, and it doesn't take much to pop that. JP Morgan Chase has 61 trillion of those. You pop JP Morgan and it spreads out through everybody because the banks are interconnected and they'll
That's
all be
true.
trying to sell the same assets. Everything just is like all of a sudden will stop. And then you say, okay, if the derivative market can take out everything, why don't we start a new monetary system going back to the old monetary system? Let's use gold and silver. They're real assets. They're not derivative of anything. And there are many signs that that's what the plan is.
So what do you think silver's really value should be? Because if we have this much gold everywhere, and I've thought about this too, if there's that much gold everywhere, then the eight
You
to
know,
one or whatever
you
that
know what it
ratio
is,
is not true.
right? But you know what it is in your heart. You know what it is. It's 1 to 1.
Or
It's
or something better than what it is. It could even be less than it could be
it,
gold. Silver is less available than gold.
that is a fact. And when you remove the COMEX and the LBMA, you remove the pricing structure of gold and silver from the equation. You go back to, before price was set. What did they used to set prices to back before the Fed took over in 1913? They used to set according to the availability of the metal above ground. That was one way. In different countries used a different way to price their gold and silver, and everything was a gold silver ratio because those were the two types of money. So they used above ground, which is usually about 12 to 15 to 1. In ground ratio was about 11 to 1. But this is all before the Industrial Revolution and the invention of electronic devices that need little bits of silver. We've used up all that silver. The
Well, and
true
also
ratio,
we didn't know there was this much gold either.
well, that's the flip side because I can make a great argument of why gold and silver should be equally valued today. Basically, each one has about 6 billion ounces above ground that could be traded. Okay,
That's
I
the
can
true
I can
ratio. Is
back
that
that
what
up
you would
with
say?
data.
That's the true ratio.
The reality of how it gets to 1 to 10, which I think ultimately it will go to 1 to 10
What
before
do you
it's
mean, like so the flip? This flip
1 ounce of silver buys you 10 ounces of gold. And that's the revelation that there's massive amounts of gold, like
do
10 to
you
20
think
times the
that could
amount of gold.
happen?
I think it's going to happen. And I've seen Fed documents showing little girls walking into a bank with 19 coins. A picture in one of the Fed documents that on the road to Roota, it was published the exact same day as all the stuff that I found. 19 gold coins going to a bank, swapping them for paper money. And then talking about how we have to have gold in a monetary system or everything blows apart.
Okay, well, how about silver though? Where do you find the facts and the proof that I know you just said it, but let's lay it out again. Where you see that it'd be a 1 to 10 ratio flipped.
Right. Okay. So let's just start with we know the price is wrong. So what should the price be? Above ground is 6 to 1. Coming out of the ground, it's 7 to 1. But over 100% of all the silver coming out of the ground, over 100% goes into industrial. The Silver Institute will tell you it's 60%. I've caught them in so many lies, it's ridiculous. For example, and this is a great example, and you
No,
can
this is
put
good. No,
this
I believe it. I said this to Andy too, Andy Scheckman. I said, Andy, I don't even know if these ratios are right. I mean, silver, if you the true demand is evaluated, silver could be more valuable than gold. And he goes, I don't know if I ever agree with that. He goes, but Bix Weir does.
and it's easy. It's easy. I mean, we've all been brainwashed to think gold's more valuable than silver.
Yep.
I mean, and why was gold allowed to go up, but silver wasn't allowed to go up? It's because the bankers had the gold, the bankers didn't have the silver.
They
So of
wanted to get to
course,
the silver because they knew that the silver is where things are at right now.
well, now it's interesting. I remember when Bear Stearns went down in 2007, 2008, right around there, and JP Morgan bought Bear Stearns for $1 and then it was changed, but they had to get a a guarantee that they wouldn't lose a certain amount of money because of the silver short position. This was revealed later. When they got it, a woman named Blythe Masters, right after 2008, Blythe Masters was the queen of derivatives. She's the one who caused the credit default swap problems in 2008. If there was one person to blame, it's Blythe from JP Morgan. She was put in charge of all the commodities. She's the one who built out the JP Morgan commodity division into this monster that it is today. I remember her going on CNBC saying, "Oh, everybody says we rigged the market. That's not true. We don't." It's like a year later, they were busted for rigging the oil and gas market.
Yeah, you
And,
can't
and
believe
then
all of that.
later, Trump busted them for rigging the gold and silver market. The reality was they kept shorting the price of silver to keep the price of silver low, but they were pulling out all the physical silver and ended up with 1.2 billion ounces of silver, which is 10 times what the Hunt brothers had.
Yeah,
10
exactly.
times.
And the Hunt brothers were taken down for doing that, and they're
Yeah.
doing this blatantly in front of our faces.
Absolutely.
It's like all the rules that were established or that they actually straight-faced, I don't know, the world has changed. I mean, they actually tried to do things, it seems like, in the past. And now all the things they did in the past, like taking down the Hunt brothers for cornering the market, they just do it blatantly in front of our face. And there's so many examples of that, not just
Yeah.
in finance, but in so many areas.
Everything. Right.
Yes.
And it just shows you how, I mean, the finance part, the destruction of unbacked fiat system, the global monetary system, that destruction, that changes everything. That has prolonged everything else. The bad guys controlled it. The bad guys put it into the pharmaceutical companies where they made more of it. Everything bad has come from unbacked fiat money, and this hasn't been forever in the United States. This has been since 1913. It has not been forever.
Is that why Trump
So,
talks about Andrew Jackson? Is that why he wants
oh,
money? Because
absolutely.
Andrew,
Trump knows exactly what I know. He knows there's massive amounts of gold in the Grand Canyon. I mean, some say his uncle who got all the Tesla
yeah, he managed the
information
Tesla files for MIT.
told him everything that was going to happen for the next 100 years. Now, is that probability? Not in my world. But then
Well,
I
that's the
read,
problem, though. I mean, we don't know, and that could be the psyop against people who really want this to get better, right? That's where I always
right.
say, okay, I don't know. And so I have to look at the actions of everybody and say, I don't know, guys. I don't know what the truth is, but I can tell you what the actions are, and we can
Mhm.
analyze that.
Right. So silver would have never broke $50 unless it was allowed to break $50. It broke $50 in December 1st,
Now
and
it
jumped
broke
right to
100, right?
it'll get there in the next couple of weeks. And then it'll break 200 and it'll break 300.
You think it'll get to 6,000?
It could get, well, see, that's the point. At some point, the short position, which has not changed in the last year, 750 million ounces on the COMEX. Everybody says, oh, there's a short squeeze as all the shorts are trying to get out. That's why the price is going up. None have gotten out. None. They changed hands a bit out of the US banks into the European banks, but none have gotten out. There's
Well,
still
but
a
when
700.
they, but that's what Bill Holter is saying is that it could be the biggest squeeze in US in the history of our country, or maybe
Right.
even all of humanity, when they do decide to get out. Because
When
what's
it
going to
starts.
happen
Right.
when it starts, what's going to happen is it's going to go from whatever it is now, 100 to what? I mean, what is it going to go to? He says overnight it's going to go to 300 or something. I don't know. He just said that, but what do you think it's going to go to?
Well, what would you sell your silver for? I mean, for every
Right now, I don't know if I'd sell it, right?
for every buyer, there's a seller on the COMEX.
That's true.
So you're gonna these if these people have 750 million ounce short position, and all the physicals going away, so it's pretty naked. Who would take their position? At what price would they do that?
I think it's going to go up to, I don't know, I'm pulling strings, but I think people would sell it at 500 or something right now, or even 300. The analysts, the big bank analysts are saying they readjusted and said the price of silver this next year is going to go from anywhere from, I think it was Goldman Sachs that said this, anywhere from 100 to $300 this year.
The question is, are they going to get it back under control? We know it's out of their control now. The mine supply isn't changing. They're going to do next year. They'll do 800 million ounces too. The recycling's 200 million ounces. That's a billion ounces of physical silver there. We're consuming it in electric cars, and the new battery for the new electric cars that Samsung just announced is going to use 32 ounces of silver, but it goes 600 miles and it charges in 9 minutes. So how you think Elon's going to let other companies do it before he does it? No. And that's going to add another 100 million. We don't even know how much silver is being used in industrial now because we've been lied to by the Silver Institute.
Yeah,
I
but
might
okay,
take
so hold on a second. If it's 32 ounces and a battery, let's say the battery would be $10,000, they can't, I mean, what can a battery be priced at before you wouldn't even use the electric vehicle because the
right.
battery's too expensive?
So
So
that's the
that's a
kind of question you
limiter.
should ask.
Yeah, that's a limiter on what the silver price can go up to in order for that battery to affect the market.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let's say you're buying a $50,000 EV, and then you see one for $60,000 that gets double the mileage, 600 miles, and charges in 9 minutes.
You pay an extra,
Would
maybe it's
would you pay the
20,000
extra
for the
10
battery.
grand?
Maybe the battery's 25,000. I don't know, but that's still a market price limiter.
Right. There, yes, there are, and there's different industries that have different thresholds. Like right now, solar is the largest consumer on the industrial side. I think they're consuming about 500 million ounces, but the Silver Institute says 200 million ounces, which is fine. It just means when they take out solar, it's not going to hurt as bad on their analysis. But even at 200 million ounces, I mean, silver's tripled in the last 6 months, right? So the cost of silver in solar panels has gone from 10 or 12% to 30 to 35% of the cost. Has it stopped solar? No. Why? Because most of the other costs are in installation, and there's a green mandate to put in as much solar as humanly possible. So it's not saying unless the price of silver goes to $1,000. They'll keep making it. They'll keep making the solar
That's
panels.
what I
They
mean.
haven't
There's an
stopped.
industrial cap. So maybe the price is $500 before it starts to really fundamentally affect the
Right.
ability to industrial wise. And
Right.
they're going to have to, and then they start using they're going to have to use other metals, really, or other things. Silver is the most conducive metal on the market, and it doesn't corrode because they've advanced chemicals to make sure it doesn't corrode. There was some random guy talking about cryptos being the backing and that silver is all a big is not true because DARPA has a metal that can replace silver. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if that's true. I did zero research on it, but that's why you diversify too, right? I mean, you
Right.
can't say, okay, silver is going to go to the moon. Well, it could, but there's always stuff like that could happen.
Right. Yeah, and it's some kind of graphene type of chemical thing that they can do to turn it into just as good as conductor of electricity as silver.
Or
Is
even
that
just a little
possible?
bit worse, right? I mean, or whatever.
Well, there's other things. Yeah, like silver in a solar panel has to last 25, 35 years. And they're talking about, replacing it with copper. Copper won't last that long. All those things you said are correct. And the reality of what you said, when the industrial side stops, putting silver in their things or tamps it down, the other side really kicks in. The investment silver. Why are so many people into gold now? Because the price went from $300 to $4,700.
Quick break from the program to share with you something amazing. This is called Sloop. It's actually SLUPP-332, but it's been shortened to Sloop. And this thing mimics exercise. It seems too good to be true. I first shared this on my Substack, and I had Dr. Diane Kaiser, and we went through all the benefits of this, and the whole thing sold out. You can't get it anywhere really across the industry. And the people who are using it the most are athletes and bodybuilders and people who want to see extra performance in athletics, because this and preclinical studies with mice increased their endurance by 70% and their distance by 45%. I mean, it's incredible. And it's been shown to mimic exercise even when you're at rest. In preclinical studies with obese mice, they lost upwards of 12% of their body weight in 4 weeks, and it increased muscle. So this is really taking the industry by storm. It's actually not that expensive either. With my 10% coupon, it's about $80 for maybe a 2-month supply if you take 1 capsule a day. If you decide to up it to 2 capsules a day, because your dosage depends on what you want, then it's a 1-month supply. But Dr. Diane recommends doing 1 capsule a day until your body gets used to it. You might not see the same level of results right away that the mice did, but your body can get used to it and see if it's something that you really want to do. If you are interested in this, I will have a link below so you can try it yourself, or go to sarahwestall.com under shop. Remember to use the code Sarah to save 10%.
I mean, we're talking when silver goes, like you said, $500, investment fever is going to go crazy. Everybody and their mother is going to want to buy silver, and they can't open any new mines for the next 10 years. They haven't found any new silver of size. So, yeah, that's the beauty of silver being an industrial metal and an investment metal, because both sides of it, right now, they're both starting to kick in. The industrial side with all the electronics, and the investment side with the destruction of fiat money. So with both those cylinders running at 1,000%, yeah, we're going to see $200, $300, $500 silver. Will we get to the thousands? I really don't look at price anymore. I look at the gold silver ratio.
Well, and that makes sense. Now, with silver being reclassified as a strategic resource, I could see the government confiscating it because of the how important it is for national security.
Yes, and that is one of the risks. And what would that do to the global price of silver if the United States decides to confiscate a literally a global metal like silver? You'd see the price go from a hundred
Go through the
dollars to
roof.
$100,000. I mean, it would be unthinkable. And then you have everybody. And the confiscation thing is essentially very small amount of silver that they could confiscate from the people. I mean, you can go after like the warehouses of SLV and stuff like that. Most people have no idea what we're talking about right now. The
Well,
vast majority of humanity.
the paper silver is where most more of it is, right? And they don't have any protections. Being in paper, you have zero protections.
Well, on the paper contracts, they're going to declare force majeure at some point where they'll just stop trading futures and derivatives and options and things like that. And then you're down to the physical. Who's got the physical and how much are they willing to, what would it cost to make them part with it?
Could they just wipe out the contracts, take the silver and say sorry, but that's what your contract said
You
without
can, you,
creating an upheaval and a revolt?
you don't even have to do that because in the comics, it has in there that they can be cash settled. You can just give them,
Oh,
we're going to
okay,
shut
yeah.
down the comics today. Here's your $90 today's price. And then tomorrow it goes to, $200.
That's what they
It
did with
happened in
gold.
1933.
Yeah, they gave it a certain price. I don't remember. You probably know off the top of your head, and then it went up significantly after they bought people out.
Well, with the gold confiscation, gold was the money. It was priced at $20, and then after they confiscated enough, most people didn't have gold; they had silver, but the banks did, and so they got their hands on the gold, and then they changed the price from $20 to $35
Yeah, that's what I thought.
overnight.
I was thinking with the 36, but 35 something, right?
Yeah.
So that could realistically happen, but they're going to go after the paper stuff first, right?
Well, there's the paper stuff is non-existent. They don't care about the paper stuff. I mean,
Well, no, but isn't it's no, that's rationalized, right? So that's fractionalized. I mean, so there'd be one silver ounce to like, I don't know how many paper. So people think they have silver and they don't have squat.
yeah, I'd be very surprised if the comics warehouses. I know that they hold SLV silver. So you take out the SLV silver, which is about 575, 580 million ounces of silver. It doesn't leave much left for the COMEX and the LBMA as far as free silver that's not encumbered, meaning that like every ounce of silver is owned by somebody. And I really see a kind of a stopping of the system with the collapse of the derivative situation. I think it will
Well, so
be
will
JP
people,
Morgan.
okay, hold on a second. I want to get just before we move on to that. Will people even get you say that people the paper or silver, if there isn't even silver backing it, will they
Right.
even get money for it?
They might get money. They might get paper money. They won't get silver. I mean, the
And
SLV,
then the paper money will
and
collapse and say, here's your fiat currency. Now we're moving to a different thing. Good luck with your fiat currency.
I don't know. Trump's trying to integrate cryptos into the system. Which as a crypto person in the beginning, I thought was if you want to destroy cryptos, you integrate it into our current financial system because both will be taken down at the same time. These banks that are buying crypto are required to sell crypto the minute there's a hiccup. That's one of the first assets they'll sell. So I don't. I've been a long time investor in cryptos. I have a couple that I'm saving for after the crash, but everything will be unknowable really because the exchanges won't be open. What's your value of your stock and bond and all that? If JP Morgan goes down, it takes every single bank, it's the cash part. Nobody will have any cash even. You go to your ATM, it's not going to work. And I mean, again, it gets bigger and bigger. The more you think about it, you really do have to take that look at what's going on right now as the 30,000 foot level. Hey, overall, it's best for humanity if we get rid of these people who control our lives, the people who make us sick, the people who abuse us financially. We work for them, we pay taxes to them, and they're evil. And the only way to take them out is to destroy what they value most, which is the control over their fiat money.
Now, do you think that they're just stuck in a system that they can't control? I would think that there's probably a big percentage that are just like they don't understand the system they're part of, which I know, which is all of our neighbors and everybody else. But I mean, even there's a big percentage that don't understand and they're just implementing a system they don't understand. And then there's a small percentage of people that truly do understand the system that they're part of. And I think half of those actually want to see something better be instituted, and the other half, which want, I think that's the power. That's the global war. Half really want to institute something better that can sustain. And the other half see that as a risk to their power going forward.
Mhm. And
I mean,
I've been
that's
talking about
go ahead.
I've been talking about a long time that when the crash happens, there'll be two factions. One faction wants to take out the bad guys and start something different. Probably in the U.S. it'll be gold and silver. The other half wants to take down the system too because of all the fraud and all the things they don't want to get caught for doing, and they want to take over the system, introduce CBDCs or some kind of control mechanism through crypto or through like there's a lot of people in crypto who are part of the what I call the pedo cabal and in the financing. And I mean, you look at like Epstein was knee deep in cryptos. He's having crypto meetings at his island. He's pulling his MIT guys down to. I mean, you go down these paths. It's like we need to wipe the whole thing clear, and it doesn't take a decider. The only decider it takes is for the people to stand up and say no more bailouts because another crash is
Yeah,
coming.
but
It's
will
right around the
people
corner.
stand up? I mean, I'm in Minnesota, right? And I sit and I hear they're so insulated, and people are so much easier to manipulate than they are to inform. It is so easy to manipulate people based on feelings. There's a city council person in Minneapolis that yesterday I was hearing her say that we need to get walls to do a moratorium on paying rent because people are so afraid to go to work, so they don't have money to pay their bills because they're afraid to go to work. They're afraid they're going to get attacked in the streets and get killed. And so we need to do a moratorium on rent so that people don't have to pay their rent for a while. I'm like, are
Which
you
is
kidding me?
insane. If you're a landlord, you're like, excuse me?
Well,
It
now,
same thing
yeah,
happened during COVID.
she was saying we should do the same thing as COVID. And the COVID thing was a disaster, but she has so little, and this is the representation of the city council, and multiple members agree with her. They have so little understanding of economics that I mean, they just have no idea. It's like a child with no idea how economics affects other people, and you totally destroy people's lives. And so how, when you have such a large percent of the population that can be manipulated, and if the manipulation isn't just on that side, I mean, we see all these other people on the, manipulated too when it comes to the Nick Fuenteses of the world. He's really creating a distraction on the other side. So you got all these people distracted with bullshit, and are they going to stand up to something that's really meaningful in their lives?
There's one way to do it. It's have them wake up one morning, go to their ATM, and not get a penny out,
Yeah, but
and
that
have
then
the
they can't
balance
eat.
right, and have the balance say zero,
But
and try to
will
run their
they
credit
understand?
card.
Will they understand? Or they
They'll
just,
understand very quickly
well,
that
they'll
something is
understand they
wrong.
can't eat, but will they understand the bigger picture?
Well, that's what it will. They'll say, why is my bank not open? And it'll show on the news, JP Morgan's $61 trillion derivative book blew up, which blew up every bank on the planet. Blame Jamie Dimon and his connection to the 20 people within Jamie
He'll
Dimon's.
be the one to blame. Yeah.
Well, JP Morgan Chase and the Epstein
They,
crowd, they were in cahoots together, 20 of them at
yeah,
JP Morgan
they
senior
belong.
management.
Yeah,
It's like,
they deserve a lot of the blame, but what they'll do, the central bankers, the IMF, and those guys who also deserve a lot of blame, will pass it on to these guys. I'm almost at the point where I don't even give a crap who ends up taking the blunt of most of this blame, as long as we can get to a new system.
right. I think I saw the evolution of because I've known this. I was a banker before I did the
Yeah,
Road to Roota stuff, and
that's
I,
why
I
you know
saw
so
the
much.
evolution of understanding the Fed and money and all that through the 2000s and after the crash, and a lot of the young people in the Ron Paul movement and all that stuff, people know now. A lot of people know, such that we're not going to let the World Bank do whatever they want this time. We're not going to let the Federal Reserve do it. We won't even let the BIS, who controls all the banks, do whatever they want. These are individuals who's they are the problem, not the solution, and we're going to find that out when everything crashes.
And
Now,
you think there's a big enough percentage of people who you just described that can get that to happen?
it will be 100% of the people when they don't have a penny in their bank account all of a sudden, you know? And yes, the people who are worse off probably will have the ones with the most assets in the system, the 401ks, the retirement money. And because they'll feel like, oh my God, I did everything you said, and here I am at the end of the day with nothing. And then
Well,
there's the
so
people with massive debt who'll say, thank God my debt is gone. And 99% of the people on the planet have debt and not assets.
okay, well, COVID woke a lot of people up and how tyrannical the government can be. But there's still a large percentage of people that are like, I want mama government, daddy government to take care of me. They just don't get it. You think those people will finally wake up, or do you think these are just, there's a certain percentage? I see, I'm going to say there's a certain percentage I think are lost causes. They will
Right.
don't matter. But I do think there's a more that will split off. And that's,
Yeah.
I'll meet you halfway.
I don't think people have to be knowledgeable about this stuff to move in a certain direction. It's kind of like there's a small amount of people within the Americas back before the United States that wanted a revolution. And it built and grew. And then when we're in the middle of it, more and more people understood it. In this situation, I would say maybe 10% of the population has a decent understanding of money, and a lot of them don't like bankers. A lot of them went through 2008 and went through COVID and say, "Oh my God, these people who told us what to do were lying to us and all this stuff." I think there's a decent amount, enough to say no and to point out why the answer is no. And no means there are no deciders. And in the United States, if there are no deciders, one thing can stand up and say this is it, and it's the Constitution. And I think, and I've done a lot of remote viewing work and Cliff High stuff, and there really is a return to the Constitution, back to constitutional money and all that stuff. And it would take just maybe 10% of the population to say, "Oh my God, we can't go back that way. You're asking us to dive into the same system that we got screwed for the last 200 years." Oh, we have a constitution. We could just say, does it say it in the Constitution? What does it say about fiat money? It says no, gold and silver only. Period! Exclamation point.
It does. Okay, so you're fantastic to talk to. We got to have you back more often for this Friday night economic review that I'm doing. And this is, we can have more conversations like this.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you? Do you sell gold yourself and silver? How do you earn a living? And
I don't sell it. I have a
you're just an
YouTube channel.
investor. Go ahead.
I have a YouTube channel, roadtoruta.com. Or Road to Ruta is the YouTube channel. Roadtoruta.com is the website. I have partners, Andy Shackman, Miles Franklin. Andy and I have been working together for
So you're
20
an
years.
affiliate. You refer
Yeah,
people to him. You're like
yeah,
me. We refer people,
yeah,
but you have a monetized YouTube channel, so you make a
yeah.
more, and then you're an investor.
And I have a private road section at roadtoruta.com. I got, the public road, which anybody can search on the website, and I have a private road where I do kind of in depth. As I'm discovering this stuff, I'll talk to the private road people about it. And we give away a giveaway every year. Right now, we're giving away Veritasium, which I think is a huge part of our future. I know you've talked to Reggie Middleton.
Yeah, Reggie
Um,
Middleton's freaking great.
Oh yeah, I was in his original ICO back in the day when buying Very tokens at $2 and saw him go to 450 before the banks took him out. And all of a sudden, they grant him all these patents. He just got a European patent. So yeah, there's something going on with our government and the move towards a new system.
For sure there is. I think that's extremely obvious that Trump is surrounding himself with this. I don't know who the good guys, the bad guys are. I just look at what the actions are. And I do think that what we have in place now compared to Biden is, yeah, that was so bad that it's better.
It wasn't even Biden. It's hard to say Biden because he was not even there.
Well, he wasn't that you can't argue that because he was just so whatever that was, it was not good. I mean, and so what we got now is better, but I see some things now that make me nervous. I mean,
Me
what is
too.
this Greenland thing? I mean, how do you just go and demand you want Greenland? I don't, what is that?
Well, it's a play for the assets in the ground. But can you say it gets to what is Greenland? A frozen hunk of ice. It used to be is all we thought of it as. So we didn't care really whether Finland ran it or I think there's
Denmark is it?
30. How many people in Greenland? Like 30,000 or something like
Yeah,
that.
and Denmark owns it.
Yeah.
Or it's part
Well,
of Denmark. They don't own it. It's part of, it's kind of like
it's
Canada
managed
is part of the
by
UK.
right, right.
Yeah.
And what gives Trump the constitutional ability to go into Venezuela? Or I mean, there's so
Well,
many and
Venezuela seems even, I mean, as weird as that is, that seems more normal than just audit just demanding Greenland. At least Venezuela, you can make an argument that they are bringing in drugs and there's all these things and it's bad, right?
right,
Okay, there's this bad thing that's hurting our national security. Greenland?
I know. Do you remember when the first administration, we went down to Mexico to talk about the wall, and he came back? Yep, Mexico's agreed to pay for the wall. Remember
Yeah.
when he said that?
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you, Trump said, "Hey, we're going to allow silver to be freely traded." Mexico exports 33% of the silver on the planet. They should be the richest country in the world.
Yes.
He went down there and said, "Hey, we're going to let silver trade freely. You're going to be the richest country in the world. You're going to want that wall up to keep people out of Mexico. You're going to want that wall up to control the amount of people who reverse immigrate into Mexico because everybody and their mother is going to be digging in the ground for that very valuable silver that's in your dirt. And you've been screwed for so long.
They
And
have been.
Mexico has been the provider of silver to the world for free, basically free metal for the world. And a lot of my friends from Mexico know this and have been screaming. Hugo Salinas Price has been screaming, we have to go back onto a silver standard. We can't export silver anymore. And if they do stop silver exports, that's 33% of the silver that all of a sudden is not available.
Well, and China moved to stop exporting their stuff,
Yep.
and they created a license agreement. They're really pushing for that. So
Yep.
we're seeing that happen worldwide with the metals, where
Mhm.
countries are starting to say, I'm not even sharing my stuff anymore."
Yeah. And it'll be a whole new system if we do really if they're freely traded, we know. And all of a sudden it will be, yeah, Greenland makes sense. Canada makes sense. In Mexico makes sense. And the United States has a lot of things that they need. Why not join the American Trump Union of Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba, Greenland, and combine all our assets in this strange world where there's no fiat money?
Boy, so you agree with that movement going forward? I don't know what I think about that. I see that there's a counter. Everybody, there's a group that dislike everything that Trump does, and
Right.
so they use that as a measure of Trump's a tyrant and all he wants to do is take over the world. And then there's the opposite argument of no, Trump's trying to get out from underneath this other global cabal. And both arguments, when you lay it out, you could debate it, have some things that seem, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, and I do have a problem with, on the face of it, Trump is violating the Constitution left and right, just like every other president that has gone to war without congressional approval. And I think that's bullshit. And but I also disagree with Trump that he rigs the markets more than anybody ever did in history. He has 100% his thumb on every single market, but he had to do it to keep this system going. So there,
And
I,
that's
I
what I
get why
mean.
he's doing it, but I don't agree in violating the Constitution.
Well, that's why we need to get involved and make sure, okay, we need to be free. I get a lot of these actions, but we cannot violate our freedom. And we don't want a Chinese style technocratic takeover where we lose our freedoms. And
Right.
the only way that we're going to make sure that we don't lose our freedoms is to actually get involved at a detailed level, not just high level, but algorithm level.
No, especially with Google and AI. We could spend a whole day talking about AI, but um, the future is very scary, and there's nothing we can do about it. But you
Well,
can
there
protect
is.
yourself. You can protect yourself
Yeah.
financially. Get as much physical silver in your own possession. No mining companies. I think they'll all be nationalized. No third party holding of silver because
That's right.
silver and a gun is what
Well,
you need.
and I think you also demand, I do think there's some things. People are in the institutions, people who are, I have a systems engineering background. So like I think people can get involved and make sure that there's freedom in these algorithms, that we're not allowing everything to shift to a non-transparent algorithm where we are getting our freedom stripped. That's something that people can do. Not everybody can do it because you don't have the background, but you can learn the background and you can get involved with it. And then meanwhile, protect yourself with silver and everything else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a strange, crazy world going forward. All the signs are there. Silver breaking past $50 was huge. Remember, in the history of silver, it's never gone past $50. It wasn't allowed when the Hunt brothers came. It wasn't allowed when J.P. Morgan rigged the market in 2011, and it wasn't allowed this time, but it happened, which tells you there's a bigger power out there besides the market riggers. And now, I mean, everybody and their mother is trying to grab as much silver. Every country is, every company that uses silver. Elon even text. I mean, I've been texting Elon or sending a message on X for since day one saying, "Hey, Elon, you know how much silver your company uses with
Did he
all your electric
respond?
cars and your solar power and your rockets to the moon?" And finally, he texts something about silver when silver hit, like I think it was $60. He goes, all he said was put the graph up and said, "This is not good." Because it's not good for manufacturers and for 99% of the population, it's really not good. Nobody wants to pay three times the price they're paying for a flat screen TV today. But that's
Well, and it is luxury goods. Let's be honest. It's not food.
well, anything electronic. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has a hundredth of an ounce of silver in their cell phone.
hmm It's
Are
right.
they willing to pay double for their cell phone? I mean, literally, the price of silver affects everything, which is why they gave them the leeway to rig the market for so long.
That's right. And it's breaking free. Well, this is a again, you're going to have you back. Thank you
Cool.
so much, Bix, for joining me. I've wanted you on for a long time, so this has been great.
Very fun. Thank you, Sarah.